Something unusual happened in the skies above Israel. A photograph taken by an Israeli fighter pilot captured a moment that military analysts rarely get to see. A ballistic missile flying at high altitude suddenly opened in midair, and then something unexpected happened. Instead of a single warhead descending toward its target, dozens of smaller objects burst outward, scattering across the sky before falling toward the ground. For defense experts, this single image may reveal something far more important. It could be evidence that Iran is changing the way its ballistic missiles attack, and that change could make them much harder to stop. But the real question is, was this just one missile, or the beginning of a much larger shift in modern missile warfare? Welcome back to War Intel. Today, we examine the technology behind Iran's evolving ballistic missile program and why some analysts believe it could present a growing challenge to Israeli and American air defense systems. For decades, Iran has invested heavily in ballistic missile development, but most of its early missiles followed a relatively simple design: one missile, one warhead, one target. One of the best-known examples is the Shahab-3, first deployed in the 1990s. The missile was developed with technological assistance from North Korea. At the time, Iran's missile program was considered limited compared with major military powers. But over the next 20 years, that began to change. Slowly, Iran started improving the range, accuracy, and payload capacity of its missiles. And eventually, it began experimenting with something far more complicated. One of the most important developments in modern missile technology is known as a multiple re-entry vehicle system. Instead of carrying a single warhead, a missile equipped with this technology can release several warheads or submunitions while descending through the atmosphere. Each of them can strike a different target or spread across a wide area. From a military perspective, this changes everything, because missile defense systems are usually designed to intercept one incoming object at a time. But when one missile suddenly becomes many targets, defending against it becomes far more difficult. One of the missiles believed to support this type of payload is the Khorramshahr-4, a heavy ballistic missile designed to carry a much larger warhead than earlier systems. Because of its payload capacity, it may be capable of deploying multiple submunitions during the final phase of flight. This allows a single missile to create dozens of impact points across a target zone. For military planners, this flexibility can be extremely valuable. The missile can either concentrate destructive power on a single hardened target or spread explosive force across a large military base or industrial facility. Submunition warheads offer several advantages. First, they are much harder to intercept. Instead of destroying one incoming warhead, air defenses must engage many smaller targets at once. Second, they can cover a much larger area. A single missile strike could damage multiple facilities within the same location. And third, they increase the probability of hitting critical infrastructure. For example, a large airbase or industrial complex. Even if some submunitions miss, others may still strike vital sections of the target. This is exactly why many countries have explored similar technology in their own missile programs. During Iran's limited missile strike against Israel in June 2025, most of the missiles reportedly carried single warheads. But that may now be changing. In the escalation that began on February 28th, analysts reported a higher number of missiles equipped with submunition payloads. If confirmed, this could suggest that Iran is becoming more confident in its newer missile technologies, and that may increase the pressure on Israel's air defense systems. Iran is also developing another class of weapons, hypersonic missiles. One example is the Fatah-2. Instead of falling toward the ground in a predictable arc, this weapon carries a hypersonic glide vehicle. After separating from the missile, the glide vehicle travels through the atmosphere at extremely high speeds while performing maneuvers. This makes interception significantly more difficult. However, Iran's hypersonic missiles currently have one important limitation. They can only carry a single glide vehicle, which means they can still strike only one primary target per launch.
Some other countries are already exploring a more advanced concept: missiles capable of deploying multiple hypersonic glide vehicles from a single launch. Russia has reportedly been researching such systems. If developed successfully, one missile could potentially attack several targets simultaneously at hypersonic speed. Iran does not yet appear to possess this capability, but many analysts believe it may eventually try to develop something similar.
Meanwhile, Israel has taken steps to control information about the impact of missile strikes. Reports indicate strict censorship rules on photos and videos showing damage caused by ballistic missiles. The goal is simple: prevent adversaries from gathering intelligence about the effectiveness of their attacks. In some cases, Israel has even reportedly used electronic jamming to block commercial satellites from photographing sensitive air bases after missile strikes. This highlights another dimension of modern warfare: not just missiles, but information control. Even with advanced defense systems like Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow, there is still a fundamental challenge. Interceptor missiles are extremely expensive, and they exist in limited numbers. If a large wave of missiles arrives simultaneously, air defense networks can become overwhelmed. This scenario is known as defense saturation, when there are simply more incoming threats than interceptors available. To strengthen regional defenses, the United States has reportedly redeployed several missile defense systems to the Middle East. One reported move involved relocating a THAAD missile defense battery from South Korea. The message is clear: Washington and its allies are taking the evolving missile threat very seriously. The photograph taken by that Israeli pilot may represent more than just a single moment in the sky. It may be a glimpse into the next stage of missile warfare, a future where one missile no longer means one target, but many. And if these technologies continue to evolve, air defense systems around the world may soon face a very difficult question: not whether they can intercept a missile, but whether they can intercept all of them.